after MLA T. Raja Singh, who's been suspended by the BJP, was released on bail despite making those hate comments against Prophet Muhammad. There's been a fresh wave of protests that's broken out in Hyderabad. Through last night, these were the scenes. Huge crowds that had gathered in protest against T. Raja Singh, the suspended BJP MLA. AIMIM corporator Zafar Khan and the mob, which raised Sartan Se Juda slogans in the city, continue to roam free, which is why last night too, these slogans again echoed through the streets of Hyderabad. Protests continued well into the night. There were incidents of vandalism as well, as an unruly mob took to the streets of Hyderabad, setting things ablaze, setting things on fire, vandalizing a police vehicle. Apurva Jayachandran is joining us live from Hyderabad. Apurva, protests breaking out in Hyderabad again. Get us the latest.
Well, Akshita, we're here at Shalibanda, just inside the old city, and this is the protest that have, erupted here. Several people who have gathered here, protesting, demanding that they want justice. In fact, there are several slogans that have been raised against, Raja Singh. This is the kind of massive protests that have been ongoing here since last night across old city. This is one of the such protests that have yet again started here. Protests that condemn Raja Singh's bail, in fact, again, a call for arrest of Raja Singh here erupted across old city. This protest that just started have been ongoing since last night across various parts of, the old city. In fact, this is one such effigy that they have raised out here that they are likely to burn as well. And the kind of protest that we are seeing definitely shows the kind of impact that Raja Singh's statements had, and we're also seeing that the protests have turned violent. In fact, people there kicking and kicking what seems to be a doll effigy out there of Raja Singh, all demanding that they want justice and the arrest of the suspended BJP leader Raja Singh immediately. This is the kind of protest that we have been seeing since last night. The protests that are erupting since almost the last 24 to 48 hours that the protests here have been going on, ever since Raja Singh had released out that YouTube video. He was earlier arrested yesterday, and less than 24 hours and the case was heard and the bail was issued to him as well. And now with the bail issued since yesterday night right outside here at Old City near Charminar, there have been a massive protests that have erupted here, and the protests, let me tell you, Akshita, have been ongoing since last night. The police out here also trying to control the situation. We also have several police deployment over here. This is the kind of police deployment that we are seeing over here as well. Several people who have still gathered here raising slogans, black flags, and raising slogans saying that they do want justice. So police on one side trying to defuse the situation, trying to maintain traffic law and order over here, and on the other side protesters there raising black flags and demanding that they want justice and arrest of the suspended BJP leader Raja Singh at the earliest. All of these that we are picking up from ground since the last 24 to 48 hours, that the entire city has been tense. The situation here that has been tense. Several people who have gathered here, and it is clearly visible, the kind of tension, the kind of, the sentiments of the people over here. Not only that they are angry that the suspended, BJP leader has been released out on bail, but also that, the demands and cry for arrest of Raja Singh has not subsided. That is one thing that has remained constant over the last 24 to 48 hours. And we're seeing that even as these protests do continue, one thing that remains is that several people say that their religious sentiments, their sentiments have been hurt, that this is not the kind of justice that they wanted. So all emotions.
Is there anything being done right now by the administration to stop these kind of protests, not just to return violent yesterday, But you're telling us also that at the venue that you're at currently, at that protest venue, there have been beheading calls, Juda calls that have been made. Any action by the authorities, or they're letting this happen?
No, the authorities out here are on standby. In fact, they have been monitoring the situation. In fact, just last night, these protests turned quite violent, and ever since then, none of the protesters are allowed anywhere near the vicinity of Charminar. There yesterday night, massive protests erupted in and around the vicinity of Charminar, and now this is a little bit further from Charminar that these protests have erupted. We're seeing several kinds of police deployment here across various locations, and in and around the old city is where the impact has been massive. There have been several equipments, there have been several police patrol control that has been brought in, and with this kind of protests here that have erupted, this is not only the people out here who are on high alert, but the police also have been on high alert since morning. We're also seeing visuals right now of the effigy that is being burnt. Just minutes earlier, we saw that the effigy was kicked around, and now the effigies that have been burnt as well. So definitely a lot of unrest that is here on one side. The police also trying to monitor the situation, but it does look like the protests are getting out of hand time and again, Akshita.
Okay, Apurva getting us the latest updates there. You can see that there are effigies being burnt. This unruly mob gathering by the numbers right now. The numbers swelling and nothing being done by the authorities. Apurva, keep running us through what's happening. They're unbelievable that the authorities are allowing this to happen, allowing beheading calls to be made, and none of them are being detained or stopped. Apurva, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Tell me.
I think we've lost the connection with Apurva. She's getting us the latest live images that are coming in right now from the protest site where Apurva is reporting from in old Hyderabad. And there are several pockets where these kind of protests are continuing. Apurva, if you're with us, run us through what's happening right now on the ground.
Well, Akshita, what we are learning as of now is that there is still, unrest out here in Old City where we are currently at. And, this is the kind of protest that we are seeing taking, out of turn as well, because effigies here that are being burnt by protesters, all of them demanding that the arrest of Raja Singh, that is the suspended BJP leader, take place at the earliest. So the police on one side who are still monitoring the situation, but on the other side, this is what we are seeing. These are the kind of visuals that we are seeing where protesters are, getting things out of hand. So definitely a lot of unrest here in the city. These protests, let me remind you, they have been ongoing, since the last 24 to 48 hours. Definitely, not only are effigies of Raja Singh being burnt, but posters there that are also, being stamped on a lot of things that have gone wrong here over the last 24 hours. The emotions are high on ground. The feeling of people definitely has, been mocked is what the sentiments of the people definitely have been mocked is what protesters out here are saying. They are in fact also, going on to demand, several, slogans, including that of Juda and several others that are being raised here. Sloganeering that has gone out of hand, even as, the public out here are demanding that there needs to be justice and that Raja Singh, the suspended BJP leader, must be arrested once again. Remember, yesterday night, after almost over 2 hours of arguments by his team of lawyers, Raja Singh was granted bail yesterday. The lawyers there who also went on to state that they had argued on the protocol that wasn't followed by the police during the time of arrest, that is the 41 CRPC, and that was one of the key pointers that they argued with, which got Raja Singh his bail last night. And now with the protest that is ongoing here, the protest ever since his bail had been granted took a massive turn, because this is not one such protest that we are seeing here, but also protests that have been ongoing in several parts of the city as well. All of them who are saying that they want Raja Singh to be arrested again.
Okay, so you can see effigy is being burnt right now. Apurva, since yesterday, considering we've been seeing these kind of protests escalate, and in many instances, these kind of beheading calls being made, was any action taken by the authorities against the AIMIM corporator who openly made that call against a so-called influencer who also was part of these protests? Any action against any of them?
The police have detained a lot of these protesters. The protesters had been detained since day before as well, when massive protests took place right outside the commissionerate. In fact, several such slogans of Sir Juda and several others were chanted even since last early morning as well. And now the protesters who have been detained, police say that action will be taken. All of them are being brought in, and they are being detained by the police as well. So definitely we are seeing that the tensions out here has been, while the police on one side monitoring the situation is what we can say, but on ground we can see that a lot of people have got agitated. A lot of people who are saying that they want justice, that is what they are saying. So the emotions here definitely are high, because on one side we're seeing the police trying to manage the law and order out here, and on the other side we're seeing that the public out here definitely outraged and enraged by the fact that the suspended BJP leader who had put out that YouTube video where he had spoken ill about Prophet Muhammad, we are seeing that the people are not pleased. The people who say that their sentiments have been hurt, they're saying that they are not pleased that this is the kind of justice that they have currently right now. So a lot of things that have been going wrong over the last 24 to 48 hours.
The TRS so far, Purva, the TRS has said every conversation that we've had with the government and the TRS, they've maintained that we're very serious about these slogans. We will not allow it to happen in the city of Hyderabad.